mind with blossoms.
The 2016-17 Champions League final will be contested by Real Madrid and Juventus, both champions of their nation's domestic leagues and arguably possessing the finest attack and finest defence respectively in Europe this season. Real Madrid have scored 32 goals in this season's Champions League, the most. Juventus have conceded only 3, all of which have been from set pieces. Only Group G's FC Copenhagen have conceded fewer in the Champions League, 2, and they only played 6 matches to Juventus's 12. But in Marcelo and Dani Carvajal, Real Madrid boasts 2 of the finest fullbacks in the game, as well as the superb defensive midfielder Casemiro. Juventus, on the other hand, have Paulo Dybala and Gonzalo Higuain up front, and the converted deep-lying playmaker Miralem Pjanic pulling the strings. To bill this match as an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object is to overlook the all-round ability and balance of both sides. Max Allegri's Juventus side line up either as a 4-2-3-1 or as a 3-5-2, but as Allegri himself has stated, morphing from one to the other situationally in-game is a crucial part of how the Italian champions play. Defensively, Juve tend to use a form of man-orientated press. While the front 2 players press the central defenders, the rest of the Juve side sit off, picking their opposite numbers who are then pressed when in possession, but not too aggressively. Shape is more important than regaining possession by pressing. The double pivot sit deeper, lining up against the opposition's central midfield in a form of man marking. The wider players then drop in to make a 4-4-2, narrower in the midfield and wider across the back 4. The wider players nearest the ball push out to press the opposition fullback, while the other wide player tucks in to make a 3-man central midfield, organised and anchored by the tactically astute Sami Khedira. Once the ball has transitioned into the Juve half, they again make a 4-4-2, but generally narrower and drifting from side to side to keep the shape and width if the opponents switch play. However, Juventus are happy to vary the press depending on the opponent. If the opposition play out from the back as Barcelona tried, Juve will press more. If they play directly as Monaco did, they will sit off more and channel the build-up centrally where the pitch is more congested. Much of Juve's attacking play, in either formation, is about creating space for the full or wing-backs to push on. In the 4-2-3-1, Dybala's dropping into space pulls opposition midfielders around and allows Pjanic in midfield or Bonucci from centre-back time to play to wide left and right. Higuain will also drop off, while in a 4-2-3-1, the lateral movement of the 2 wider attacking midfielders, augmented by the fullbacks, means that Juventus play very wide going forwards. This affords the chance to switch the play either directly or through the midfield pivot, and Juve's width means they can create space on the opposition flank for a player to cross to 2 hard-working, predatory forwards, Higuain and Mandzukic, with Dybala often arriving late for a layoff or to pounce on loose balls. In the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-2-1, the theory is the same: create width, use the forwards to pull the defence out of shape, switch the ball, and bring Alves and Sandro into the game for crossing opportunities. There is a conception that Zinedine Zidane's primary job as Real Madrid's manager is to control a dressing room full of world-class talent and egos, and that the tactics are essentially no more complex than give the ball to players like Gareth Bale, Karim Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo. Sit back and enjoy. However good a team's players are though, at the highest level, organisation is still crucial, and Zidane has added structure to Real's defensive stance. Defensively, Real also press high on the opposition centre-backs, and playing with 3 up front, they can also shift the press across to the fullbacks. However, Real tend to mark passing lanes rather than men, which does leave them vulnerable if the cover isn't arranged well and don't press very aggressively. Casemiro is the key player, moving in front of the back 4 to shut down passing lanes. pressing and winning back the ball and dropping deeper if the fullbacks need to push up. Real also fall into a 4-4-2 or even a 4-1-4-1 in their own half, with right-sided forward, Bale if fit, or one of Isco or Modric in the 4-3-1-2 filling the right-sided berth. Real want their opponents to try and play over them by compacting the vertical space and congesting the middle of the pitch, and encourage this by playing quite a high line. In attack, Real try to stretch the play as much as possible. Toni Kroos is usually the deepest lying midfielder in possession, linking the back four and the front players, even though Casemiro is the screening midfielder defensively. Real Madrid tend to use Kroos as the build-up player, Luka Modric or Isco as the midfielder who pulls wide or pushes into the box, and Casemiro as a shuttling support player. Carvajal and Marcelo push very high and very wide, while the forward line of Bale, Benzema and Ronaldo can interchange, dropping in or wider to create overloads. When playing a 4-3-1-2 with Isco in the hole, this movement is more vertical than horizontal, but the effect is the same. Real Madrid have three hugely talented attackers who can play anywhere across the front line, while the fullbacks create the initial chances. The intention is to have two players on the side where Madrid are in possession, two players in the box for the cross, and a spare player on the far side for the switch or to regain possession if the ball is overhit. The more attack-minded midfielder fills in to ensure the wide players have a passing option to recycle or switch play if required. Real also use Modric's ability to carry the ball using 1-2 passes or have one of the forward players drop off to link the midfield three to the forwards. This can also be done by Isco in the 4-3-1-2. So, who are the teams likely to line up against one another? Real will be in their customary 4-3 something, and whether Isco plays will depend on whether Bale returns to fitness. Juventus have several choices. They can play a 4-2-3-1, seeding the deeper midfield to put pressure on the Real Madrid defence midfield link, or they can play three at the back, wide, matching Real's front line, using the wing-backs to push up onto Real's full-backs, and using Dybala or Mandzukic to drop in to help out against Real's midfield three. Both teams play wide, and so the temptation will be for both sets of fullbacks to sit deeper and play more cautiously in the opening stages at least. If Bale is not fit, however, and Isco plays in the hole, Juventus will likely be bolder, as Real will play slightly narrower. If the wide areas see both sides trying to stifle one another, then Modric and Pjanic will become the key men for their respective sides. Modric will look to carry the ball forwards into areas where Real should have a numerical advantage. Pjanic, meanwhile, will try to link with Dybala, who will drop into space and evade Casemiro, and his accurate passing through the lines will be crucial if Juventus are to find a way through Real's defensive shape. While one might expect Juventus to sit deep, absorb pressure and hit Real on the counter or exploit their set-piece defensive weakness, Allegri might adopt a more aggressive 4-3-4 or a 3-4-2-1, pin Real Madrid back, and by asking Mandzukic and Dybala to drop in and Pjanic and Khedira to push up, overpower Real Madrid's midfield three, leaving a 3v3 at the back and trusting in the energy of Alves and Sandro to cover back if required. Whatever happens, this is a final with two very deserving sides and should afford a feast of intelligent, tactical football. For more stats and stories, do go and follow us on Twitter at @UMaxitFootball. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.